Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Am I excited for today? Because today, folks, we are going to be unboxing and reviewing and testing and nerding out over the new Johnny Marr special signature Jaguar. Now, before we do anything else, I have to give a massive shout out and thanks to the kind folks at Zzounds, especially my boy Billy, who hooked it up. And if the rumors are true and every retailer only got 2 of these units, then I was somehow lucky enough to be selected to get one of them to borrow for today's review. So I'm super duper excited. Back there, I've got the original Johnny Marr Jaguar. So it'll be cool to compare to see how different they feel, they sound, see what other changes they've made. And in the end, I'm going to be giving you my honest thoughts on whether you should be shelling out $3,000 on one of these bad boys. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going into this not knowing what to expect. I haven't watched any of the other reviews or demos that have come out on this thing, aside from, of course, the video by my buddy Mark B that he did covering the clone of this guitar that him and Jack from Offset Guitars UK had built ahead of its release. And so, yeah, I am really looking forward to seeing how this thing actually sounds. So we're going to start off by pulling this thing out. Now, this case right here looks nearly identical to the normal Johnny Marr. It's got almost that grayish denim kind of look. This is very similar to what vintage Mustang cases looked like actually back in the day. And wowee, holy Toledo. Look at that. There it is. And it's gorgeous. Wow. And actually, before we put this thing away, let's just go ahead and also pull out the case candy. I know some folks hate that I say case candy. And you get, I think this is a vegan leather or faux leather strap here. And you also get your vintage gray cable and bridge cover and your vibrato arm that this time has a black tip to it. So right out of the box, wow, this thing is awesome. It's actually not as heavy as the other Johnny Marr model that I own. And you can see that a bunch of little hairs and stuff from the case got all over the finish here. So attached to the guitar here, we've got our certificate of authenticity, which is customary on most of these American flagship guitars. That has the serial number information on it. And then we have just our hang tags. And as always, before we do anything else here, we are going to unpack our vibrato arm because we want to install that from the jump so that we get the full experience. And it doesn't look like much has changed with regards to a bunch of the little extra niceties that the Johnny Marr Jaguar comes with. So, for example, you get your stay trem like arm with the little nylon sleeve inside, and that keeps your vibrato arm from actually being loosey-goosey, right? And I can see here that they did indeed make a 9.5 inch radius version of that stay trem licensed bridge. So I'm going to be curious to see if anything's changed with that when we pull that out. Everything else, aside again from the big change here, which is those 3 Kent Armstrong custom wound lipstick pickups. And then you've got a new wiring configuration, which we're going to be going over in detail a bit more later. So let's just go over the specs of this. So we've got an alder body that is replicated to an even more accurate degree after Johnny Marr's 1965 Jaguar. It has really, really nice, sleek contours, even more so than the American Vintage line. You can see the extra deep tummy cut or belly contour here. We've got a black gloss nitrocellulose finish, as well as a tinted gloss nitrocellulose finish on the back of the neck and the headstock here. Now, this time around, we have a 9.5 inch radius fretboard with your vintage size frets. It's got a rosewood fretboard and maple neck. And as before, we have the Goto SD91 vintage style tuners on this. This doesn't actually have the little stamp, the little fender stamp on the back of the tuner casings, unlike the American Vintage 2 models. Now, moving on to the hardware, as I had mentioned before, we've got our AVRI or American Vintage trem, but it's got a stay trem-like collet with a nylon sleeve to keep your arm from going loosey-goosey over time. It literally is just a clone of the stay trem. And the bridge is the same. This is very, very similar to the American Pro 7.25 inch radius bridge, except this time it is a 9.5 inch radius. Same thing as before, stainless steel saddles, stainless steel body, and it's also likely going to have those nylon bushings at the very end of the bridge posts to keep the bridge from sinking over time. Now, the wiring configuration has changed, and we have got now your traditional Johnny Marr circuit with the 4-way switch. You've got your bridge position when it is facing all the way towards the bridge, and then you've got both pickups in parallel, and then you've got your neck pickup, and then you've got both the neck pickup and the bridge pickup together in series. Also, like the original Johnny Marr, you have your two strangle switches, right? This first switch is universal, so it works on all positions to give it the traditional Jaguar bass cut. And then you've got an additional bass cut that's meant only for the series position. Now, things get interesting with this third switch, which I had also wrongly guessed was going to be some kind of out of phase switch in combination with the introduction of that new middle pickup. But with this switch facing all the way towards the neck, that means that the middle pickup is off, right? And that effectively makes the circuit identical to the original Johnny Marr 2 pickup configuration. When you switch it to the middle, that makes it so that the middle pickup is on with all of the various pickup configurations here. So for example, if I have it on just the neck pickup and I have this toggled to the middle, then that means that I have the neck pickup plus middle in combination. If I have it on the bridge pickup, same thing. Think Strat tones. Johnny himself, in recent interviews about this new model, was talking about how the Strat was actually a big inspiration for this guitar and that he wanted this to be more of like a rock and roll version of his signature Jaguar. So I am very, very curious and eager to hear what that sounds like when I actually play it. Now, toggling this switch so that it is facing as close to the bridge as possible, will select only the middle pickup, right? Solo. Now, as far as the rest of what we've got going on under the hood, I'm actually not quite sure what is going on under here, whether we are going to see like new brass shielding plates to accommodate this new wiring schematic, but for sure, I'm pretty sure that we have got, you know, your Oak Grigsby 4-way switch, you've got your Switchcraft switches here, and if I remember correctly, the pot values here for your volume and tone control are not the traditional 1 meg spec found on his original signature Jaguar and most Jaguars out there. I believe it might be 500 or 250K. I'm forgetting right now what Mark B had said in his video about this, but we are going to be seeing that firsthand when we actually take this thing apart. One last detail that I forgot to mention here is, like the original Johnny Marr model, the nut on this is a synthetic bone nut, and the headstock still features that polarizing Johnny Marr signature decal on the headstock, which is sitting above the finish. So if it bothers you enough, taking some naphtha or some Goo Gone or something will take that right off. Just overall, yeah, before we even plug this thing in, it feels great. It feels very, very similar. If not, maybe even the neck feels maybe ever so slightly slimmer than the one on the original Johnny Marr model. And that may be as a result of the flatter fretboard radius. So out of the box here, I just need to do a little bit of adjusting. I need to reseat the bridge because it is leaning. So we will switch to the bench cam for a second here, because yeah, that bridge is leaning. It's causing a tiny bit of buzz, but the action is set to a kind of, medium-ish action. I definitely would prefer for it to be lower than it is currently, but it's very playable as is. If I'm just taking a look to see just a few details as I look at it up close, the fretwork does look good. I'm not seeing any glue spots on the fretboard. This fretboard also doesn't feel the same as that kind of rough, craft paperish kind of feel that the rosewood on the Ventera 2 models come with. This is very similar to the rosewood that I grew up with and have played on most guitars over the past, 20, 30 years or so. So that is also nice to see. The melamine nut is polished to a degree that makes it look very much like bone. But it's definitely sitting a little bit higher than, a nut typically should be cut if the slots are as deep as the slots are on this nut here. But no big deal. It's not huge. It's not, I don't foresee those causing any issues. So now that we've got that, let's just give it a quick strum. So those buzzes that I was getting from the bridge sitting up against the walls of the thimble are gone. The other thing that I'm noticing before, again, we plug it in, is that the bridge here is actually sitting pretty high. So that tells me one of two things. Either they increased the break angle at the neck pocket, because we are looking at a bridge height, and I'll switch back, or I'll let you see from here, but you can see kind of how high that bridge is sitting. That is definitely higher than I typically like for it to be. So yeah, so either they increased the break angle at the neck pocket, or this has a pre-angled neck pocket plus they added a shim. That's what that tells me from the jump here. But again, be curious to know and curious to see once we start to actually take this thing apart. I have to wipe away these little hairs because that is going to bug the shit out of me for the entire rest of this review if I have to look down and see that there are little case pubes all over the friggin' black finish. And that's one area, I'm going to be honest here, folks, one area where I'm a little bit disappointed here. Really? Black? I mean, I love a good black guitar. Don't get me wrong. And actually, you know, what's funny is back in the day, black was actually one of the rarest colors. I think I had read that multiple times online, that black was actually one of the rarest custom colors, particularly black with a matching black headstock. And I think having a matching black headstock would have elevated this guitar just that much more. So again, that's disappointing, but I would have loved to have seen this in that Comet Sparkle color that he's got, or I don't know. There's so many burgundy mist, right? Something special, right? Because this is supposed to be extra special. So the choice of black, especially for something that's supposed to be this limited edition, is a little wacky. Bit of a wacky decision, in my personal opinion. Anyway, enough talking. Let's plug this bad boy in. We are on our bridge pickup by itself, going through the Princeton Reverb reissue, and here we go. Ooh, wow, that is a nice kind of sparkly, jangly, hi-fi tone. This is now our bridge pickup and neck pickup in parallel. Ooh, that sounds dope. Yeah, that sounds really good. It sounds huge. This is our neck pickup by itself. Yeah, that neck pickup sounds like friggin' heaven. Let's go now to both pickups in series. Nice, thick, creamy even kind of tone, but it's still got that bit of shimmer to it. I am curious to now hear what all those pickup selections sound like with our universal strangle or bass cut switch engaged. So now this is series. This is my favorite tone on the original Johnny Marr, the series plus the universal bass cut switch. Oh yeah, that is Jangle City, folks. I love that. That's awesome. That's awesome. This is the neck pickup with the universal strangle switch. Yeah, a really hi-fi, especially once you've got the bass cut engaged, this kind of hi-fi, vintagey kind of sound. Okay, so now we are both pickups in parallel with the bass cut switch. And now our bridge pickup by itself. I really dig this a lot. Yeah, wow. Let's now hear that series position with the bass cut, just the one bass cut for now. And then with the additional bass cut, the series only bass cut. That sounds crispy. I really dig that a lot. Wow. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to like these as much as I do, so I'm a little besides myself right now. Let's turn those bass cuts off, and now let's hear the middle pickup by itself. And again, the switching for that is all the way towards the bridge here. And this is the middle pickup soloed. That sounds big without being as dark as the neck pickup, which is great. I really dig that. And this is with the Princeton reverb on 5 right now. Okay, so like really, really low output pickups are going to be a pretty pristine, clean, even on 5. This, I'm starting to hear the tubes cook a bit. And I'm starting to hear a little bit of breakup from the amp, which is awesome. I love that. Let's now hear the middle pickup in combination with all the other pickups. So now this is our middle pickup plus our bridge pickup. Nice. This is the middle pickup with both pickups in parallel. It's surprisingly getting darker, but at the same time, we are starting to hear that strat thing that Johnny was touching on. So we've got the mids definitely being scooped. It's got that kind of quacky nature. It makes me wonder if there is some out of phase stuff going on here with regards to the 3 pickups playing with each other, all 3 of them, because yeah, there's definitely some out of phase stuff going on. If there is no out of phase stuff going on there, I will be damned, because it sure sounds like it to me. We are now on the middle pickup in combination with the neck pickup here. It's progressively starting to get darker. And that sounds huge, and we're not even in series yet. So that sounds big. It sounds dark. It's verging on muddy, I feel like. It's funny because I hear a lot of low ends, lower mids. The middle is scooped out, and you can kind of hear the sparkliness of the actual strumming. It's almost like giving a similar feel to that hi-fi thing that wide range humbuckers do, like actual Kunafe wide range humbuckers. I always describe those as sounding kind of hi-fi. And very, very scooped. And these don't sound exactly like those. Obviously, these are single coil pickups. But that is another thing that I wanted to add here, is that for single coil pickups, they're actually pretty damn quiet. This is our neck by itself right now. right? And there's our bridge by itself. That is pretty quiet as far as single coil pickups go. Definitely quieter than even normal Jaguar pickups, I feel like. Definitely quieter than Jazzmaster pickups. All right, let's go back now to series in combination with our middle pickup. That's awesome. I dig that. Just a really full spectrum of tone with an emphasis, of course, on the lows and the lower mids, something that I feel like the Jaguar just isn't normally known for. We're going to engage the bass cut now. This is middle pickup with both pickups in series. That might be one of my favorite tones that I've heard from this guitar so far. We're going to engage now the second series only bass cut. Wow, I could see that being like a really nice lead tone right there. Okay, turning that off. I think we've gone through all of the positions, haven't we? Or have we not? Okay, wait. So now let's do the middle pickup plus the neck pickup with the strangle switch on. And the middle pickup with the both pickups in parallel with the strangle switch on. And then now the middle pickup with the bridge pickup with the strangle switch on. Yeah, that sounds dope. I dig that. Just maybe a little bit more. Let's now go with just our bridge pickup. Strangles are off now. Let's try out our Tubescreamer, because this is supposed to be a rock and roll guitar, right? This is the rock version of Marr Jag. So let's just do some chords. Ooh. Both pickups in parallel. That is definitely a rock tone. That is definitely a rock tone for sure. And now our neck pickup by itself. Sweet. And now our giant humbucker, the bridge pickup, and the neck pickup in series. Let's just now hear all of those positions with the middle pickup first by itself, soloed. That sounds sick. Yeah, the middle pickup by itself, I friggin' love it. Oh, wow. All right, in combination with all the other pickup positions now, this is our middle with bridge, again with our Tubescreamer. Middle pickup with both pickups in parallel. Middle pickup with the neck pickup. Yeah, dude, I can see what Johnny is saying about this being the rock Jag. And I'm glad he went with the lipsticks instead of humbuckers. I'm not a fan of humbuckers in general, not gonna lie. Unless they're like Filtertrons in a Gretsch. It definitely sounds different than a normal Jag. I will say that for sure. This is the middle pickup with both pickups in series. Sounds huge. I feel like I should be playing in a friggin' stadium or something. And that's just me with my wee little Tubescream. All right. In series now, with the middle pickup, with the bass cut switch on. There's a lot of stuff going on here. All right, here we go. It's a gnarly sound. That's got like a snarl to it, which I love. Let's turn the second bass cut switch on now. There's just so many different colors here. It's crazy. It's a little wacky. That's great. This sounds great, man. Let's go ahead and now do the universal bass cut with just the normal configurations without the middle pickup. So this is the strangle switch with the bridge pickup. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And both pickups in parallel with the strangle. this is how I don't get how, for example, the original American Pro Jaguar got rid of the strangle. How the hell are you going to be getting rid of the strangle on a Jaguar? That is that is quintessential Jaguar tone, right? There is no Jaguar without the strangle. So that's crazy. But this sounds dope. The neck pickup now with the strangle. This is now the series position with the strangle switch. Typically my favorite of the pickup positions on the original Johnny Marr. Let's see if it holds true with this one as well. Yep, it's still my favorite. Still my favorite position. And then now with the series only bass cut switch, also engaged. Wow. Holy shnikes, folks. Holy shnikes. I am in love with this. F and A. This is, and the neck. All right, let's talk for a little bit here. Let's talk for a little bit. So far, I freaking love this thing. And that is the honest truth. I am now going to be thinking about a way to justify me trying to tell Billy at Zzounds that I want to buy this thing. Because I am that impressed. These Kent Armstrong pickups sound fantastic. They are decidedly different from a Jaguar, even if you own the original Johnny Marr. This is different enough, tonally speaking, and also even feel-wise. Like, you can feel the modern, the more modern 9.5 inch radius here. And it doesn't bother me. If you've seen my other videos, you know that 7 1/4 radius is typically my favorite. But also, as time has gone on, the radius is not that big of a deal for me, to be honest with you. I played Gibsons, and those have a 12 or 14 inch radius. My Gretsch Panther, which I friggin' love, that has a 12 inch radius. I think the bigger issue for me with guitars is when there's like a mismatch between like the bridge saddle radius and the neck radius. So that's one of the, the reasons why, for example, I'm not a fan, despite the legions of folks out there who pray at the house of the J. Mascis Squire Jazzmaster. It in its stock form is not for me, because I can very much feel that difference in, the discrepancy between the flatter bridge radius and the rounder neck radius. The outer strings, for example, have to sit further away from the fretboard, which I'm not a fan of. So anyway, this guitar is sick. I love that they kept the frets vintage size rather than changing those out. The overall stock setup here is very, very playable out of the box. Again, there have been gripes in recent years, Fender quality control and whatnot, but on this one, I am not seeing any of the issues that folks have reported with other models. That might feed into my theory that signature models, because they are tied to an artist's name and reputation, that extra care is put into the building of the signature models. But it's just a theory, and I don't know for sure. But yeah, and the neck here also feels a bit slimmer to me than the traditional, original Johnny Marr model. I love the original neck on the Johnny Marr. That oval C shape, 65 style C shape is really good. And this is in that ballpark. I feel like they didn't change much with regards to the back profile. It's still that oval C, but it's now being informed by that flatter radius fretboard, which is making it feel a bit slimmer to my hands. We can compare the two with the calipers momentarily, because we're about to go into nerd mode here and see what the F is going on inside of this thing. But yeah, so far, just wow. I am freaking loving this a lot more than I thought. I was going into this thinking that I'd be like, yeah, it's good, but it's pretty much the same as the Marr Jaguar, and it's got lipsticks. And yeah, it does have lipsticks, but holy shit, those are making a way bigger difference to my ears. It's almost like it's giving me the things that one doesn't give me. Right? So that is fascinating. Johnny, he had to have played a huge role. He obviously cares very much about guitars, but the fact that I guess the two sounds, sonically speaking, kind of fit together like a puzzle is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. So anyway, we are going to now take a look at what's going on this thing. So we're going to switch over to the bench cam, as we do here on Totally Wired Guitars, and I am stoked to see what is up with this. How should we do this? Actually, you know what? Here we go. There we go. Now your view is not obstructed by my stupid face. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to move all of this crap, because we don't want to accidentally knock into the guitar here. Dude, I want to keep this shit. I should just tell Zzounds it didn't get delivered. No, I'm just joking. Holy shit, though. Holy shit. I fucking love this thing. So we're going to capo this bad boy up, pull off the vibrato, take a look at what we got going on under the hood here. So, one thing that I will say that was a minor annoyance while I was playing was just how much resistance I am getting from this, right? I like for the thing to kind of swing away from me, and you can just see, look at how much resistance I'm getting from this. That's a lot. So if this were mine, and in fact, I might do it still, I would probably lubricate the arm a bit before putting it back in there, just so that thing moves a little bit smoother. And obviously with a bunch of use, that's also going to wear that in a bit better, but I wouldn't want to wait for that to happen. So I'm going to dip that friggin' thing in a little bit of good old petroleum jelly, and that should feel a lot better. We are going to loosen 6 half turns. Actually, we're going to do 10 half turns. I forgot we're pulling off the vibrato. And that helps me get back to baseline that much quicker. As you saw, it was staying relatively in tune really well. And I was using the vibrato throughout the initial demo there. So that was really, really nice to see. Really nice to see. You know, the experience that I've been having with the Vintera models, for example, as compared to the shootouts against their cheaper Squire counterparts, was that, you know, on most of them, the Vinteras needed, the more expensive Vinteras, mind you, needed a lot more work. Out of the box, this has needed no work. Again, I feel like maybe I could, you know, I might want to lower the action a tiny bit, but it's kind of good. It's perfectly playable where it is. My mind is kind of racing right now, scheming about how I can justify keeping this. This is so dope. Okay, so pulling the vibrato off, like most vintage style Fenders, we've got our tremolo ground or our string ground, bridge ground, whatever, lined through the vibrato here. Let's investigate the bridge. And so we've got the M for Marr here. It's underneath this sticker, and I think that sticker signifies that this is the 9.5 inch radius version, right? But otherwise, it is the same. I keep calling it a licensed stay trem design. I'm pretty damn sure with how close this is to Stay Trem's design that they had to have paid John some licensing fee to rip it off this hard. But then again, you never know. And I feel like the saddles on this are finished to a nicer degree than some of the aftermarket American Pro 7.25 inch radius bridges that I've seen. The saddles are definitely way more polished. Sometimes you can see tooling marks on those American Pro bridges, and I've even seen them on the Johnny Marr, models. But this is really nice. So that's nice to see that everything is intact here, and I can feel it's not easy to loosen or tighten the little height adjustment screws here. So definitely those nylon bushings at the bottom here are doing their job. Before we pull off the pick guard, let's actually measure the output of our pickups here. This is something that I promised Mark B and Jack at Offset Guitars UK that I would do to see, how close these Kent Armstrong, these special design custom Kent Armstrong pickups are to the ones that are available as aftermarket pickups. So right now we are on our bridge pickup by itself, and we are getting a reading of 5.58 for that bridge pickup. 5.59. So these are still decidedly quite low output pickups, and that's the bridge pickup. So I am imagining that the neck pickup, for example, is going to be lower than that. Yep. I'm getting 5.15 for the neck pickup. Johnny loves his low output pickups, boy. All right, and now we've got our middle pickup. I'm imagining it's going to be somewhere in between. 5.29 for the middle pickup. Fascinating. What is it again on the bridge? Was it 5.59? Yeah. 5.59, 5.29, 5.15. I'm going to actually jot that down so that I can share that with all of you. Yeah, those are right about in line with the outputs of Johnny's original bare knuckle pickups. But again, due to, I guess, the construction of these pickups, maybe the magnets that are being used, what have you, they just had more character to them, more bite, more color to them than the original bare knuckle pickups. All right. let's go ahead and go under the hood first. Let's check out to see what our pot values are. So you can see that we have our typical cloth covered wiring here with your Switchcraft input jack and your CTS pots. And we've got, oh wow, yeah, 250K. So I really do think that they were trying to tap into the Strat inspiration here. Okay, so 250K, and we have a capacitor value of, it's still the 0.01 UF capacitor, right? So rather than a traditional 0.047 cap that you'll see in Strats and Tellies, he's still retained the 0.01 UF capacitor. And inside of here, you can see that the brass shielding is still present. So I am curious to see what the situation is under here. Like, how are these pickups mounted in here and what's under here shielding wise? Because again, it was very, very, very quiet, especially for true single coils. And under the hood, aha. So this, my friends, is what the situation looks like under the hood. So our Kent Armstrong pickups do not have cloth leads. They have PVC covered leads there. If you can see, maybe I should bring you a tiny bit closer. So you can see here that the Kent Armstrong pickups have these gray leads, plastic coated. And then we've got a custom shielding plate situation here. These are unique to this particular Jaguar, as you can see there. The routes are squared off, right, to accommodate these big old lipstick pickups. And you can see just how close to the pick guard the edge of this route is. That's craziness. That is craziness. Like, it barely is there. If this was like a vintage celluloid guard, no doubt that over time you would be able to see that route peeking after the, peeking through after the pick guard shrank. Fascinating. Fascinating. And then the last thing, I mean, just to be completist about it, in case y'all want to see, let's go ahead and take this out. I do not think any changes were made to the switch tip, so that's likely still going to be easy to knock off and lose. A lot of folks will customize this for the kind of switch tip that's got the little set screw in there, but yeah, here you go. So rather than an all cloth wire affair, you can see that we do have a number of plastic wires in here too. Okay. In addition, and those are likely as a result of, what's coming from the pickups. Yeah, that's what's coming from the pickups themselves. And then last, but certainly not least, we have got our upper circuit, and the upper circuit has the two Switchcraft switches. Again, your PVC coated wiring. So overall, just as a result of the design of the Kent Armstrong pickups, it's just a little more convoluted of a wiring affair here, a little bit more messy, but not a big deal. And the three-way slide switch is also a Switchcraft switch. Cool. I don't see any changes that have been made to the Johnny Marr route up here. This is still not going to accommodate a rhythm circuit for sure. But the lowest, the slide switch for the middle pickup is accommodated because the route here for the upper circuit like blends in. It's like an open layout between that and the neck pickup route. So I'm imagining that maybe some of the weight savings that I'm feeling from this guitar is as a result of having a little bit more of the body hogged out to accommodate these bigger pickups. That, and most likely because these pickups themselves are lighter than Jaguar pickups. Because I do not think these are actually metal. Yeah, no, these are plastic. The casings on these pickups are actually not metal. They're plastic. So that will save on weight. So that's it. The other thing that we're going to check after we've screwed everything back together is we are going to check on the neck. If we've got a shim going on in here, or if that's just the angled neck pocket. This is definitely going to be way more annoying to adjust pickup heights, because you're not really even going to be, you're not going to be able to see the distance between the strings and the pickups without first putting your bridge back on so your bridge is going to need to go on without your pick guard. You're going to need to put the tremolo back on if you took that off. Overall, not an ideal situation. Maybe it would be more advantageous to take off or easier to take off the neck if that's the case, if you're doing, trying to adjust pickups. But yeah, this is definitely not as user-friendly of an affair for making those kinds of adjustments. Okay. Cool. Very, very cool. Overall, a pretty high quality arrangement we've got going on under here. They did not skimp. The only thing that would have been nice to see would be that those Kent Armstrong pickups didn't have PVC coated wire. I fucking hate PVC coated wiring. I hate it. It is unruly. It does not stay. It's not like Gavit wire, cloth covered wire, where if you crimp it or pinch it a certain way, it kind of will stay in the formation that you want it to, and therefore out of the way of your soldering iron when you're doing work. Whereas plastic or PVC coated wire is super frigging annoying because it just has a life of its own and it burns and melts so quickly. Even if you're not touching that part, maybe your soldering iron is on the bare wire for 1-2 seconds too long, as you check to make sure that you don't have a cold joint that went down, and you linger for a second too long and that wire is already melted. And it's what, 2025 now? Going into 2026. How have we not progressed in that department? I don't know. All right, we're almost put back together here. This is going to be another hour. If I didn't cut this video or edit this down, this would be like a 2-hour long affair, if not longer. Because that's how crazy we get over here with this kind of stuff. Right? That's how crazy we get. And while we're here and the strings are not under tension, I'm just going to lock the vibrato, pull this godforsaken arm out. Okay, so that for the rest of the demo, we have a smoother operating arm. So I actually just made a curious discovery, and I don't know if this is a mistake or what, or if they purposefully changed this, but this does not appear to be the Johnny Marr arm. This looks like a normal AVRI arm, right? And so maybe they either got this order mixed up, because I have two real Johnny Marr tremolo arms here. Yeah. So here is, and this is very similar to what a stay trem looks like, but this is what the Johnny Marr tremolo arm is supposed to look like. And you can see this is the one with the white tip, but yeah, let's just see. Yeah, see, if we push that in, that locks, and we get a much smoother trem arm operation here. That's pretty nutty to me. So that's something to look out for. They apparently shipped the guitar with the wrong vibrato arm. And you all saw that from the beginning when I showed you the case candy, that it was the arm with the black tip that was in here. So maybe for the rest of the demo, I'm just going to swap these and just have the actual correct arm in here, because yeah, that's a bummer. This is what this is supposed to feel like. This is not supposed to have like crazy tension like the other one. That's what it should feel like, because there's like that little lip nipple or whatever at the end of this vibrato arm. That is weird. That's a major fuck up right there, putting the wrong arm. Okay, so let's see what's going on with the neck pocket now, and see if we've got a shim in here, which is what's giving us this. I'll just tell you very quickly what kind of height we've got going on our bridge right now. We are sitting close to 6 millimeters away from the pick guard. That's pretty friggin' that's pretty high. That's really high, actually. It's not terrible, but it's definitely way higher than I would want it to be. So I'm curious to know if there's a shim in here. And the neck pocket does not seem to be overly tight, which is good, at least with regards to wanting to take a look. And no, there is no neck shim here. So I think that we've just got a more significantly angled neck pocket from the factory here. And I don't see any debris. You can see that there's nothing in that neck pocket. There's no excess wood. There's no wood chips. Sometimes even little wood chips from manufacturing can act as like a shim. Just double checking. Nope. There are no flakes. There is a tiny bit of overspray, but nothing that would require 6 millimeters of bridge height away from the pick guard. So I think that they've just dialed it in, as they do, a little conservatively, right? So that you're not choking out or anything on the upper registers. And yeah, so that is another surprise. Didn't think that they would increase the neck angle or the neck pocket angle. But then again, Johnny did want this to be the rock and roll Jaguar, so kind of makes sense. I'm not compelled to check the fret leveling here because it just felt really good. overall. The nut slots look like they were conservatively done, but just to get a very quick figure, we can just check against our StewMac gauge. I'm pretty sure these are going to be okay. Yeah, 27 thousandths. That's within range. You could get lower for sure. 20 thousandths is usually what I'll go for. Little high on the A, 32 thousandths. There's room. That's typically how it goes. But there is some inconsistencies here. 17 thousandths then for the D, which is bizarre. Especially because the A was, 31 thousandths, 17 thousandths again for the B, or the G, which is good. 18 thousandths for the B. Yeah, ideally you would want them to be kind of cascading to lower figures and not inconsistent like that. And then we've got, 13 thousandths for the high E. So, it could be adjusted a little to just be more consistent. I'm sure if I checked it now, knowing those figures, and checked it against my my radius gauge to see if it's a perfect 9.5 inch radius, I'm sure there would be some slight inconsistency, but again, in feel, and I think that's what matters the most here, is the feel. And yeah, there is some slight inconsistency. Like the middle strings are not quite touching because that A string is a little too high. So this could definitely stand to be refined a bit. But again, nothing that would be glaringly obvious to the average player who wasn't checking for these things with like a fine-tooth comb. Okay. Aside from that, again, I think that the frets are pretty level. It felt good overall. So I'm not compelled to take the time to do that right now. But overall, very, very high quality. Let's switch back to our normal cam. And plug this bad boy back in. All right, so before we do anything else, we are just gonna quickly stretch the strings here because it needs it. These are 10s too. So this is a 10 to 46 gauge set. So it definitely would benefit from having the string stretch. And I may even just put a little bit of lubrication in the nut slots just for better tuning stability. I'm sure Zzounds is not going to get pissed at me for doing that. I'm just going to add a little bit of that Music Nomad Tune It. That's the lubricant, nut lubricant that I've been using. I do think that this guitar would feel a little better with 11s, but that's again just my personal preference. The 10s do feel very slinky on this guitar. Let's go ahead and just very quickly apply some lubrication to the nut slots, and then we can continue to play. I'm just using Music Nomad Tune It. Right, it comes with these little applicators. I'm only going to be using this on the nut because our bridge is currently set to rock, as a good offset should. At least in my book. So I'm just applying just the tiniest bit of this in each nut slot to help our tuning stay that much better as we kind of rip into this thing. All right, back to playing. Right, the fun part of getting a new guitar, not this stuff. So we're plugged back in, and I thought that it would be interesting if we just played some simple riffs, maybe clean and maybe one with a little bit of overdrive, and just compare the tones between this new special edition one and the original Johnny Marr signature Jaguar, the gold sparkle one that you see back there. So let's go ahead and try that out. All right, so we are running now with a little bit of overdrive through the Balls effects, or Dr. Balls Klon clone that Tony built for me. a long time ago now. The settings on the Klon are 9 o'clock for the gain. I'm about 4 o'clock on the tone, and I am about 9 o'clock on the output. So we're starting with the bridge pickup. It's funny. It's funny comparing the two of these back to back because they definitely are quite different, tonally speaking, and also in the feel. I am surprising myself a little bit. Who am I anymore? I might prefer the feel of the 9.5-inch radius. And that is a little crazy to me. I'm not going to lie. We'll play one more riff or two with the Klon as well as with an Ibanez mini chorus, which I love because it can't be a Johnny Marr demo without a little bit of chorus, right? So the middle pickup, the way it blends, you definitely get that half-cocked wah sound, that stratty kind of tone when it's combined with the other pickups. And now, to top it off, we're going to use the UA Effects Orion. That is kind of like their take on an Echoplex, along with the big Muff for some kind of dreamy, fuzzy madness. Well, my friends, I think this is about as deep and kind of insane of a dive as you are going to see on this new Fender Johnny Marr Signature Special Jaguar. In summary, this was a hell of a ride, and I really, really enjoyed it a lot more than I was expecting. Again, I'm really, really loving this 9.5-inch radius neck. I was not expecting that at all. And so I think they just did a really, really good job. It resulted in this feeling like a slightly slimmer neck, honestly, and more comfortable to play even without me doing a setup on this thing. So that speaks volumes. It has been a bit since I've done a setup on the original Johnny Marr, so maybe that is one of the reasons why it felt a little bit more uncomfortable to me. But I just felt like chording on this new neck just felt so much easier in a way, and just really, really smooth. I'm also happy to report that unlike some of the other Johnny Marr models that I've played over the past couple of years, this one here is not exhibiting that sticky neck feel. So I wonder if they listened to feedback that people had with regards to whatever formula of nitro lacquer they were using, because this just feels really, really smooth. It did not get gummy or anything at all, so I'm happy to report that. Now, with regards to the pickups, it's funny. It's kind of a crapshoot on what if I had to choose the traditional Jaguar sound that you get from the Johnny Marr original signature Jaguar, and this one, I would say that I do still prefer the sound of Jaguar pickups over these lipsticks. That said, it is a refreshing kind of tone to hear within the context of a Jaguar. And lipstick pickups are quite unique. Yeah, this touches on that Strat kind of vibe, but it doesn't sound like a Strat, right? I think the Ken Armstrong lipsticks here were really well designed overall. They've got a punchiness to them, and a smoothness to them that definitely is, I guess, better suited for a more classic rock kind of sound. They definitely do sound huge, and they're not ear-piercingly bright, unlike what can happen with the the bare knuckle pickups in the original Johnny Marr. I really, really dig especially the middle pickup and how they utilized it here. I think it was just really, really smart with how it blends, and it by itself is unique enough of a tone to really differentiate this against the original model. Now, do I think this guitar is worth it for you to go out and buy? Now, if money is no object to you, or you've been saving up and have been in the market for a new premium offset guitar, this is about as good as it gets in that higher $2,000 to $3,000 range. But just for reference, the original Johnny Marr is now up there in the, I believe it's almost $2,700 or slightly over $2,700, which again is kind of crazy money to pay for a new guitar. But that is the price you pay, I guess, for premium. There were a couple of knocks that I found against this guitar. The fact that they included the wrong vibrato arm or tremolo arm, which is craziness for a $3,000 instrument. These are oversights that should not be happening, but obviously those are things that can be rectified. You can give Fender a call if you find that yours is also the wrong vibrato arm. But just for reference, you should not be feeling resistance when you have the correct trem arm. And I showed you what the end of your arm should look like in comparison. You should not have, if you take a look here, yeah, your arm for your Johnny Marr should not look like this, right? This is an American vintage arm or American Vintage reissue arm, right? Your arm should look like this. It should have kind of like a little, it should have like a little head, right? And chamfered in that way and rounded at the tip, because that is kind of how it's molded to the white nylon insert inside of this Marr collet. So yeah, double check to make sure that you have the right arm. And if you don't, give Fender a call or write them or write whatever dealer you got it from so that they can get you the appropriate arm. But yeah, overall, I love this guitar. I am trying to now justify a way to either, be able to buy this outright or in installments. And on that note, I definitely want to shout out and thank our kind folks at Zzounds again for sending this unit over to me on loan for review. I really, really love Zzounds, especially because of the fact that they make splitting up your gear purchases into 6 or 12-month payments so easy. Absolutely no interest, no complicated application process. They don't even need your social security number, and they don't use any predatory lenders like some of the other music retailers out there who like really go nuts on you with the interest. So yeah, thanks again to Zzounds, and in particular Billy, who went out on a limb to get me this review unit. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for this video. I hope you found it enjoyable and informative, especially if you've been wondering whether this new Johnny Marr Signature Special model is the right Jaguar for you. What do you all think? Have you tried this Jaguar out? Do some of you already own it? Definitely let me know, especially if you also own the original Marr Jaguar. Let me know what you like about this one in comparison. And if you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe button as well as the notification bell to be notified of new videos as soon as they drop. And if you like my videos and appreciate what I do, please consider using YouTube's new hype feature to hype this video along with other videos of mine. That helps the content reach an even wider audience, and in particular for creators like myself who have less than 50,000 subscribers. So thank you in advance if you take the time to do that. And as always, don't forget to follow Totally Wired Guitars for more offset guitars buying tips.